I can't be bothered having to film this again. I filmed this yesterday. I realised that I'm very much a theatre kid and not a film kid in terms of acting. I realised that my movements and emotions and that were very erratic and fast, so I'm just going to try and tone it down a little bit today. You know, basically, in today's video, my first video, why am I talking like I make videos like this all the time? I hope to be making more and more often because I've got a lot of things that I've got an opinion on. So fuck it, why not? And hopefully you, whoever watched it, if anybody watches this, I'm not sure if anybody will, but you know, if anybody watches it, if you enjoy it, let me know. If there's anything you don't agree with, let me know. If there's anything I did wrong, let me know, you know? I need constructive criticism. This is my first YouTube commentary video. I've made skits in the past, I've made films in the past. I've never done this. This is a new avenue for me, so I want you guys to help me. And maybe together, we can learn something new. My name is Willow. Yes, like the tree, although I'm not one. Ha ha ha! And today I want to take a deep dive into the toxic side of cringe culture. Because nobody's done this before. Sorry, I just need to... Didn't have the document open, I just need to... My perception of things that are considered cringe has changed a lot since I was a kid. But that's to be expected, right? I mean, after all, as we grow older, our opinions expand and we become more empathetic to the people around us and the world around us as well. But sadly though, this is not always the case. We find often that some people just cannot break out of that childlike mindset where everything different terrifies them. In this video essay, like I already said, I hope to explore the more toxic side of cringe culture and the impact it has on people like you and me. Now, I am in no way a psychologist or anybody that has the right to tell you about the ins and outs of these people's minds, but for content's sake, I think we can take a pretty good guess because evidently it ain't much. Memes and toxic behaviour, a match made in heaven. Like many children of the 21st century, I spent a lot of my formative years on the internet. Since I've been a kid, I've seen stacks upon stacks of cringe content taking the absolute piss out of what seems to be just LGBT plus communities, specifically trans and non-binary folks with the whole SJW obsession in 2016. Basically, anybody with a slightly alternative style, anybody that defected slightly from this tiny fucking margin we call normality, was made fun of profusely. This normalization of bullying, because that's what it is, for shit they have no control over, i.e. their interests, their mental state, their facial features, creates a vicious cycle where those same children go on to create new mean meme content, perpetuating those very same toxic ideals. It's not cool to be different. It's reprehensible. It's wrong. Well, ironically, we live in the age of information and can learn anything at the press of a button. And everyone from adults to teenagers to children has all of this negative information right at their fingertips. People like Steven Crowder, Blair White, Calvin Garrett, they all sugarcoat their actions saying they're exposing transgenders or saying they're protecting people from their own delusions, when actually all that they're doing is just taking the absolute piss out of anybody that isn't exactly like them. But when you get down to it, they're running on the same toxic fuel as the bullies in school who picked on the gender norm-conformative kids, the autistic kids, the people that were too feminine. You know? Steven Crowder posted a video on February the 15th, 2018 with the title, "Hilarious. Trans woman, Dave, demands that you date him." First of all, I'd like to point out the fact that the only one demanding anything here, Stephen, is you claiming the topic of your video to be hilarious. The fact that your first word in the title indicates that you find this topic hilarious clearly just kinda conveys my point that people like you making your living off of political commentary, when really it's just making fun of people, are just spreading hate because you hate yourself. And so what does this spreading of self-loathing and self-hate attract? Assholes. The things that people consider cringy are a lot different to when our parents were kids. My mother used to talk to me about cyberbullying and all the new weird terms that people were going by describing the different ways that people were being bullied, like it was in a different language. The whole issue has become a lot more complex due to the huge diversity of people's interests. You can find a group of people that are interested in almost anything you can imagine, and probably anything you can't imagine as well. But also, it's the fact that you can spread these interests with thousands of other people potentially in a matter of seconds. So now the big old dinner plate of so-called cringe content, ripe and ready for the taking, is a whole lot bigger than the tiny morsels that the boomer generation had. All you have to do is a quick Google search and lo and behold, veritable crowds of idiots, freaks and weirdos to be made fun of. In a video named Reacting to Calvin Garrett and Blair White Bullying in a video named Reacting to Why can't I say his name? Is it because he's such an unfocused twat? Maybe I'm the unfocused one. In a video named Reacting to Calvin Garrett and Blair White Bullying Milo Stewart (Cringe), Cops Hate Mo, or Mo as I'm going to call them for convenience of the video, conveyed my point better than I ever could.
Above all else, it makes me sad. It makes me sad to know that people with such big platforms will do things this cruel.
What they meant, or at least what I took from that statement, is these people that have platforms so big they can cause a fucking uproar on the whole bloody internet are abusing this power of theirs. And whether they know it or not, call me cynical, but I think they fucking do, they'll do anything for the views. These people, they need to understand that their actions have serious damaging consequences. But sadly, no matter how much I or other creators such as Cops Hate Mo, Salem Tovar, no matter how much we say it, they just won't listen. So what are you gonna do? Try and sympathise it for one. Is cringe content a necessary evil? Now, if the people making this content weren't so fucking toxic, yeah, I'd say it is a pretty necessary evil. No, wait. Before you dogpile me saying that I'm actually siding with these people, just let me get to my point, okay? My friend Katie... Yeah, Hi, this is Editing Willow. What I meant to say is... my friend Katie managed to convey my point, again, because everybody seems to be able to do that, much better than I did in the video. So what I'm going to do is just phrase what she told me to say. But, you know, I don't want to take credit for it. Anyway, here you go. Making content about people being cringy is all well and good. Maybe those people would like to know that they're behaving strangely. Maybe they want to know how to be better and less cringe. But the people who make this content and watch this content don't want these people to become less cringy. They thrive on it. They need to cringe. Otherwise, they wouldn't have anything to laugh at. And yes, in a perfect world, everybody would be supportive and uplifting of these so-called cringy people and help them, hopefully, out of their cringiness. But that ain't ever gonna happen, girly. Natalie Wynn from ContraPoints did an incredible video on this topic with the title Cringe. I highly suggest you go and watch that. It is a work of art. But there was one thing that Natalie said that really hit it on the nail for me, and it was this.
Cringe's failed seriousness.
When it's put like that, it makes a lot of sense. Everybody fails. At times, nobody is perfect. Say if somebody falls on the street, the usual reaction would be, although yes, a couple of people would laugh, the usual reaction would be to go and help that person, because people are inherently social creatures, and to see harm on others is harm on us. No? Alright, I guess not then. Well, nevertheless, it's bullying, sold to the masses as political commentary or cringe compilations, and it needs to stop before we as a society go even further fucking backwards. Why do they care so much? A question I've asked myself time and time again is why do they care so much? Why do these people care so much that they will spend hours, days, months, some cases years, devoting themselves to the misery of what is essentially absolute strangers? Is it because they need the views? Is it because the people are just generally bad folk? Or it's just one big joke, you know? Besties just in a silly, goofy mode. No, it's not. I've asked myself these questions time and time again, and finally in Miss Points' video, she again hits the nail on the head superbly. Now this is a lot of information, so let's just watch it together.
Alright children, let's review our notes on cringe. The word cringe really describes two different emotions, either embarrassment or contempt. You can feel either one for yourself or for someone else. When you're embarrassed for someone else, we call that vicarious embarrassment. And that can mean cringing with someone who is embarrassed themselves, which I've argued is excluded in the internet usage of the word cringe. Or it can mean embarrassment for someone who isn't embarrassed themselves, in which case we say we're cringing at them. Now, if someone who's part of your in-group is embarrassing themselves, and by proxy, embarrassing the in-group that includes you, you feel in-group cringe, which can involve both vicarious embarrassment and a kind of self-cringe. And on the contempt side, contempt for someone who shares traits in common with you, particularly if they're traits you have contempt for in yourself, can develop into morbid cringe, which is that obsession with a lolcow, that addiction to contemptuous gazing at a dark mirror in which you see reflected everything you hate about yourself or about your in-group.
So basically, what I gathered from that is that there's two types of cringe. The first is in-group embarrassment, as we've seen, and this is basically not so much laughing at people, but with them. Somebody makes a joke. It's funny. You laugh with them. And the second is where you're just laughing at them. Except in this case, it's not a quick chuckle for 5 seconds and then move on with your life. Maybe tell it in a couple of years to your grandkids. I don't know what the fuck that was. Anyway, instead, it's years and years of being blasted 24/7 on social media, being berated by thousands of people online all the time, because the people who are doing these things are not normal people. From what I've heard, they are typically man-baby, basement-dwelling incels who are just projecting their self-hate on others to alleviate some of that self-hate from them. They're trying to distance themselves from it because it numbs their pain. And so with all this information, I've come to the conclusion that the reason these people reactively explode with hatred and anger when they see or interact anything that remotely repulses them is because that hatred, that revulsion, reminds themselves very deeply of them. They want to distance themselves so much that they'll commit years and years of their lives devoted to the misery of these people. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter what you hate and why you hate it. It is the way that you act because of your hatred and how it affects others that matters. The one thing that all these people have in common is the sheer incompetence and immaturity of their arguments. For example, take this grown-ass man. Well, no, grown is a high exaggeration in Stephen's case. I think we'll go with prepubescent 34-year-old. In this video clip, we see him do a very, very, very over-exaggerated impression of Elliot Page's voice.
Let's start this off here.
Periods in my career where it felt impossible to read a script in a day. Just obviously when I was a kid, teenager, at least my experience, that wasn't a part of...
Listen to the strained voice.
My life.
Yeah.
And I just was probably driving my friends crazy, like sending them profile photos of me, with like posts having, top surgery.
Yeah, she's in a great headspace. Giving an interview sounds like Bobcat Goldthwait. I feel happy. I couldn't even read scripts until I chopped my titties out, and then I had to grow penis, my testicles hard. It's like, look, this is not someone who seems like they are their best self. Also, I probably aggravate my friends by sending them, my new pics of my chest, meaning that they're unrequested. That sounds a little bit like bring up Mayo Clinic. Yeah, narcissistic personality disorder. One of several types of personality disorders is a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance. Note this also includes tits. A deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others.
That sound a bit, I don't know, familiar to you, Stephen? Does it sound like you might be talking about anyone that you might know very personally? Like yourself? Stephen's points are, as you can see, so irreverent and unsubstantial that I fail to see the point in making any other argument that he's obviously just a giant dickhole. But I want to come across smarter, so I will say this. The thing that all these people remind me of is the clique of footy lads who sent each other their trophy hauls of nudes that they'd collected, or just, acted generally immature or disrespectful in school. These children, dressed in adults' clothing, have managed to somehow earn the respectable title of political commentator, are abusing their platforms to spread hate and vindictive laughter at anybody that barely even stretches, never mind breaks, the mold. They are making easy money. And this is a big accusation from me, exactly because I don't make money, but they're making easy money because, as far as I can tell, it doesn't take very much time or effort to just sit there and film yourself laughing at somebody, failing to actually make any other point than, this person is weird. Let's laugh at them and make fun of them. It doesn't really stand, girl. And while yes, I did write that last paragraph just with Stephen Crowder in mind, the more I talk about it and think about it, it does apply to everybody that's making this type of toxic cringe content. And the big word is toxic cringe content. There is some cringe content that's good. You just gotta find it. And that lack of substance, that lack of any meaningful argument, it's exactly why it will always win, because YouTube values quantity over quality. Quantity over quality, a losing battle against the cringehood. I have a little theory that you are heavily affected by what you take in when you're a child and teenager. I know, revolutionary concept, right? Kids are taking in this content and then learning to find these things funny. Nobody is born with these inherent hatreds for people that are different. It is how they are molded. And this is one of the reasons why it's happening. This is one of the reasons why so many people are being bullied. And people call us snowflakes for addressing this, but really, we're just fucking sick of it. Oh, because it happened in your time, we have to deal with it as well. Fuck you. Because you had the war, do we have to go through a war? I don't bloody think so, mate. Since when was laughing at people a fucking internet trend? And compared to other YouTubers that produce, say, socio-psychological analyses of the internet cultures, like ContraPoints or PhilosophyTube, videos like this are just splurged out daily because, like I said, the algorithm values quantity over quality. And so these videos reach a target audience of what I can only imagine to be people of little or no intelligence, but more importantly, children, who will grow up to be the same phobic little arseholes, just in a larger format. If I were head of content review, or whatever the fuck it's called at YouTube, I wouldn't be taking down the videos of trans and non-binary people expressing themselves. Say, a trans man finally has the confidence to take his shirt off on camera like every other cis guy does. What's the problem? People even just talking about their experiences. These people aren't hurting anybody. Instead, I would be taking down the videos of people berating and harassing these people just for their differences. The fact is, those are the folk who are hurting society. They are the people who are a bad influence on children, who are profiting and encouraging hatred and distrust within the ranks of our society. And it needs to change. Otherwise, we will never get out of this backwards way of thinking, and will keep on being phobic towards people's differences hereafter. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Those were just my 2 cents on that topic, my brainwaves, my thoughts. Like I said, if you'd like to see any more from me, my name is Willow, then let me know, And again, thanks very much for watching. Ta-ra.